Every single year, the healthcare space is one of the best spots to invest in. But what are the best stocks to buy in that space? Let's go ahead and break it down. The healthcare space, I say this every single year, is one of the most underrated spaces to invest in. And that is because they almost do everything. They are a defensive space because regardless of what is going on in the economy and in the stock market, you have to have the stuff, right? Hospitals have to run. You need medical devices. You need medication, regardless of what's going on. Also, there are many companies in this space that pay a good solid dividend. You have medical tech companies that get the gains of NVIDIA Lite. Okay, it's not going to be up 600%, but you get companies that are up 90%. You have some companies over several years up 600%. One of these companies we are going to talk about that has been up 600%. So you do get those types of gains here and there. And then you get the stability where these companies have been up year over year over year. So let's jump right into it. I'm also going to tell you this. There are two companies on this list, okay, that are going to make you feel like a genius. I'm gonna just tell you that right now, so you absolutely want to stay tuned for that. The first one though is Boston Scientific. Did I pronounce that correctly? Whatever. BSX. Okay, that is the ticker symbol there. It is up 34% in the last 6 months and up 46% over the last year. Okay, 34% over the last 6 months and 46% over the last year at the time that we're doing this video, which can obviously change by the time that you're watching this. And they make medical devices, which is one of the things I was talking about in terms of things that you have to have regardless of what is going on. And yes, they are near, again, by the time you're watching this, at a 52-week high. Now, some people feel that, well, first off, for those that don't know, a 52-week high is within the last 52 weeks, which is a year, the stock has hit the highest it has been within the last year. Some people feel like that's a bad sign, that that is a ceiling, that the stock will never reach that level again, and it has to fall. That is an artificial level, obviously. The stock market has hit a record a few times this year. Stocks can hit new records. It does happen. So that is an artificial level. I feel it too sometimes where I feel like, hey, a stock has hit this, expensive price. It's not going to do it again. It does. Okay. It's fine. There are some studies that say that if you bought stocks that hit the 52-week high, you could just do that, and that could be actually a solid investing strategy. Now, I wouldn't necessarily do that blindly anyway, but it is a strategy that is out there. So anyway, Boston Scientific, very good and solid stock. It is one that I would absolutely add to your watch list. Here is the one that, what are my catchphrases? I think it's a catchphrase. Y'all tell me. I be telling y'all, and I told y'all about this stock 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I told y'all about this stock. The company is up 600% since the time I told you about it the first time 5 years ago. Now, if I just go to the last 6 months, the last 6 months is up 37%, and over the last year, it's up about 90%. That company is Eli Lilly. I will not be elaborating any further, okay? I'm not. Now, those who have subscribed and have listened and have been in our members only, you know how many times I've been telling you about Eli Lilly. I'm not going to explain no more, okay? I don't know how many signs and graphics and stuff I got to tell you about a company that has been doing this well for so long. Next stock. All right. This is the one that I kind of have to whisper about because a lot of people do not know about this. And this is the one that, there are levels to this. When I find a stock that I absolutely like and I feel like I need to buy, there are levels where I say, oh, put this on my watch list. Then there's, oh, I really need to buy this. I've been waiting until payday, right? There are some, I'm like, oh, let me find some cash. Let me take my phone out and throw it at my portfolio right now. And just as much as I can reasonably buy, I need to get this stock right now. That stock right now is Davita. And the stock symbol is DVA. They're a dialysis company. I may have mentioned it once, maybe twice on this here channel, but something absolutely changed. Okay. Now, first, the stock is up 47% in the last 6 months and up 55% over last year. It had been volatile. If you look at a chart over last year, you'll see about November or so, it took a pretty severe dip. If you were to ask me to guess as to what happened, it must have been the earnings or something pretty bad happened. Okay, and that's just a guess of me just looking at a chart. Now, if you ask me, what could have happened? And this is what I was thinking as I was researching this video. What could have happened as to why stock would just dip so severely and just turn right around so quickly? As I'm looking at that, I'm like, only one thing that I can think of that could have had a stock turn around that quickly. Usually it takes several months, years before a stock dips down that quick and comes right back. It has to be people from the inside buying up the stock. It has to be. President, CEO, CFO, Chief Marketing Officer, Board of Directors, y'all got to be pouring in. It has to be, because that's the only way that I can find enough confidence for me to decide to pour into the stock. So guess what? They have an insider buying ratio of 9-1. 27 insider buys to just 3 sellers in just the last 3 months. Just the last 3 months, you got 27 people inside buying shares of their own company compared to just 3 that sold. Bunch of reasons as to why people could sell. I'm not really concerned as to why someone would sell. It really doesn't tell me anything. Could be vacation, could be taxes, who knows, right? It's only one reason as to why you would buy, because you think that company is going to go up. And just in the last 3 months, 9-1. That is huge, and that's not something that is common. Now, every time we have talked about it, that doesn't mean every time in history, okay? I won't have eyes and ears everywhere, but every time we have talked about it, you can go back and check the receipts. When we talked about T-Mobile and when we talked about, what was it, Starbucks, and this was about 3 and maybe 4 years ago, respectively. Every time we have caught it and talked about insider buyers, these stocks have risen. That's not a guarantee. That's not a guarantee that's going to happen here. But this company has done well, right? The stocks have continued to do well, and I would obviously expect to do the same here. So I have a few more things that I want to check off on my own research box, but I am very excited, and this is the next stock that I absolutely want to buy. It is around the time that I want to make some changes to my portfolio anyway. This is the one that I want to throw the biggest bucket of money that I can find around my house to throw it at, because when they start to buy, I want to buy. It already has momentum. It already checks my box for a healthcare company. Y'all know I like to have some of my money in healthcare stocks. It already checks a lot of my own boxes. And this seems to be the space to be investing in right now. And not every company has a lot of this ratio. Some companies, nobody's buying. Some companies, more people are selling. Sometimes it's even, but very rarely do you see this level where you have a 9-1 ratio of people buying who know the company more than anybody else. We talk about senators buying, right? And they tend to do better than others, right? Now imagine people who run the company and know the ins and outs before anybody else, because they are running it inside and out, and they are buying. That is the signal, the best signal that you can possibly get. Next here is Moderna. Moderna is an interesting one. They were a pandemic star when it comes to the stock market. Obviously, they took off because of the vaccine and making the vaccine. If you were to ask me, and perhaps I'm wrong, I didn't know the company existed until then. Okay, never heard of the company. I heard of Pfizer, heard of Johnson & Johnson, most of us have. I had not heard of Moderna. You can go back and watch the video. I've been doing this long enough. There's a video for everything. And back then, I said, hey, yeah, the company is doing great, but my fear of investing in Moderna then was I wasn't sure when the thing was going to be over. I didn't know it was going to last as long as it did. My fear was, when this is over, what else were they going to do? Were they going to be a one-trick pony? And they were for a while, up until now. Okay, they are releasing some cancer drugs and kind of getting all that research out there, and it's starting to turn around. The company is up 90% in just the last 6 months and only up 17% in the last year. Now, you might be wondering, how does that math work out? How are you up 90% in just 6 months and only up 17% in the last year? That is because they took one heck of a dip. And this, to me, is telling me that they are starting to really, I guess, pass the threshold, if you will. It's the best way that I can describe it. And it seems like this is the entry point where it's like, hey, you're moving in the right direction. This could be the confirmation you need to start to hop on it, as it's still cheap, but moving in the right direction. Now, I will say this. Anytime you are investing in a drug company, not a manufacturer, not a facilities company like Davita. When I say a manufacturing company where they make the parts or the equipment like Boston Scientific or a company like that, or a McKesson where they make, again, the equipment. When you're dealing with a medicine company, they can be a bit more complicated. A headline about a drug not working or not being approved can hurt the company. So there is a bit more risk here. You might want to take a bit longer approach and get your expectations together, okay? So there is a bigger risk here, but the track record is very small. It does seem like things are moving in the right direction, but I would take a longer research track here. If you got doctor friends and nurse friends, I might want to read it with them, right, and ask them questions about how things are going in that space. If there are any programs out there, if you have any research things that you sign up for, like a Morningstar. I know Public has a program, an AI program where it can help you to break down earnings calls, and you can say, hey, read this to me like a third grader. It'll break down those calls for you, and that can help to translate if you weren't good in biology. I was not good in biology. Okay, so that is a trick that I'm going to use as I'm going to research that particular company a bit more, because it just was not a space of my expertise. So that's just a trick that you can use for companies that are just a bit more complicated than others. It might be a way to help you out a bit more. So those are just a few of some of the best companies in the healthcare space, but there are a few companies that you absolutely want to avoid, because here's the thing, and I've talked about this before. Once you lose money in the stock market, it gets harder to make money in the stock market. Okay, so you want to know how to avoid those major losses. There are two ways to do that. Number one is to sign up for my free course on how you can create your six-figure investing plan. I'll show you how to set up everything you need to, one, create that plan, but also how to set everything up backwards, meaning how much do you need, which means what investments do you need to set up and what do you need to look for, and then what accounts do you need to go through the entire investing plan, and then also what investments to avoid. You want to know what stocks to avoid so that you don't run into those situations. You want to check out this video right here.